Hey everyone, welcome back to another Fun with Flags video. Today, China. We all know the Chinese flag, the red flag with the 5 stars in its top left corner representing the People's Republic, arguably the world's strongest economic power. However, China's flag didn't always look like this. Throughout history, the different dynasties and rulers of China made their own flags and standards fly over the territory. In this video, I'm going to try and look through the evolution and meaning of the Chinese flag and symbols throughout time. Now, Chinese history is both incredibly long and incredibly tricky. The fact that it goes back literally thousands of years and spans out over an incredibly large territory makes it hard to track all evolutions at all times. To make this easier, I'm going to organize the video in the following manner. First, I'm going to talk about the main Chinese dynasties since the creation of China. Then, I'm going to focus on the Qing dynasty as the origin point for the first official national flag. And then, I'm going to look at Republican China and Communist China and how we got the current flag. So, let's get started. To begin with, we have the 5 emperors. These, along with the 3 sovereigns, were a group of mythological rulers who supposedly ruled a region of China from 2852 to 2070 BC. It's almost certain that they did not exist, but they are considered cultural heroes up to today. There is no flag attributed to them, but there are, however, some depictions of them which arguably could be the way through which they would be represented. After this mythological time comes the Xia dynasty. The Xia dynasty is supposed to be the first dynasty to ever actually rule China, around 2100 to 1600 BC. Although being somewhat unconfirmed, its likeliness to exist is higher than the 5 emperors. They ruled a small region of China and were established by Yu the Great, who was given the throne by the 5 emperors. Now, flags were only introduced fairly late in history, especially in the East, so most of these early Chinese dynasties have no recorded flag or even standard of any kind. One is left to wonder how they represented themselves. There is, however, a depiction of Yu the Great, and also some coins which are said to belong to the Xia dynasty, allowing us to deduce that maybe they simply represented themselves through the Chinese characters that symbolize their name. The Xia were then succeeded by the Shang dynasty from 1600 to 1046 BC. Also without a flag, it seems that its main symbol was the representation of the word Shang in Chinese characters. They seem to also have used many bronze face masks and carved human or animal faces into many of their tools, artifacts, and constructions. After the Shang came the Zhou dynasty from 1046 to 256 BC, where the tendency of representation through writing characters seems to continue. The use of dragons as a symbol of China goes back to the 5 emperors, who were supposedly created by 2 half-human, half-dragon spirits. But that story was only written around 1,000 years later than when they supposedly existed. So the Zhou dynasty seems to be the first use of the dragon. In this depiction, around the 4th century BC, we can see a man riding a dragon. There were also artifacts in the shapes of tigers and other animals, continuing the tendency of the previous dynasty of using animal faces. After the Zhou came the Qin, not to be confused with the final Qing dynasty, which we're going to talk about in a second. The Qin are said by some to be the origin point for the name of China. They represented themselves through characters as well, as is evidenced by their currency, without any symbol other than their characters. It was this dynasty who built the Terracotta Army, so arguably they sought to represent themselves through these statues too. After the fall of the Qin, China was separated into 18 kingdoms, and in the south, the Nan-Yue kingdom took place. The 18 kingdoms seem to have had no specific standards or flags, but the Nan-Yue did have a coat of arms. However, this seems to have no influence in later Chinese flags. The Han Dynasty sort of reunited China, at least in the east, but there was still no specific flag. And the same thing happens with the Sui Dynasty. The Tang, which followed, have no registered flag. However, in this mural of Tang troops, we can see them carry some type of standards which we could consider as flags. It's just that they are very general and non-specific to a region or country. Then came the Liao and the Song, which, guess what, also had no flag. But then came the Mongols, who invaded China and conquered it, forming the Yuan dynasty. In this drawing of a Yuan ship, a few flags are visible, without any color or specific symbols. However, it is said that they used blue to represent themselves. There are also some wall tiles which lasted until today, where dragons are depicted, showing the continuity of this symbol throughout Chinese history. Following the collapse of the Mongols, we have the Ming dynasty from 1368 to 1644. It seems as if all Chinese dynasties up to here all followed the same trend. They didn't use any type of specific flag, only using some colored standards in battle so that their troops could distinguish themselves and also be aware of the position of their generals. Instead, they represented themselves through the writing of their name and also through symbols present in their artifacts, paintings and sculptures, like dragons, tigers, human faces, flowers, amongst others. So, despite maybe using some colored standards with some shapes, these didn't really have any specific symbol that represented China. Like this painting called the Emperor's Approach, where the royal carriage is escorted by cavalry, holding triangular standards and also some dragon-shaped banners, but never a specific single national flag. This all changed with the last dynasty of Imperial China, the Qing, which took power in 1636. With the Qing came the first actual national flag of China. They first adopted a triangular-shaped flag in 1862 for naval ships and international occasions, changing it to a rectangular shape in 1889. It took the dragon symbol from the Chinese constellations, with a blue azure color on a yellow background, a red sun, and some details in black. The yellow was always associated with royalty. Even emperors in the Ming dynasty used yellow clothes, but it could also represent the Manchu people, while the red represented the Han people, who claimed to be descendants of the Yellow Emperor and the Flame Emperor, two of the 5 mythological first emperors of China. The blue could be an association with the Mongol rule of the Yuan dynasty, who are said to have used blue standards to represent themselves. The dragon could also be a reference to the 2 half-human, half-dragon mythical creatures who supposedly created the Chinese people, always being a symbol of Chinese culture. They also adopted several war flags to represent their armies, like these. They simultaneously had an imperial seal to represent their rule, which is actually somewhat similar to the coat of arms of the Nanyue Kingdom, which we saw earlier. During this time, the European occupation of parts of China also took place, so technically the British, German, Portuguese, French, and even Japanese flags also flew over the Chinese territory during some time. The Qing dynasty and its flag lasted until 1912. Then came the Republic of China, which used 2 flags. First, this 5-color stripe one from 1912 to 1928, and the final permanent flag from 1928 to 1949. The 5-color stripes, red, yellow, blue, white, and black, represented each of the races in Chinese history. These were also present in the Qing imperial flag, which we saw earlier. 5 races under one union was one of the major principles of the Republican Revolution. These 5 races were the Han, red, the Manchus, yellow, the Mongols, blue, the Hui, white, and the Tibetans, black. The Hui are mostly referred to as the Muslim Turkic people in Western China. Between late 1915 and early 1916, there was an attempt to reinstate the monarchy and recreate the Empire of China. The flag used for these movements was made up of yellow, black, blue, and white triangles with a red X in the center. However, these attempts were unsuccessful, and the 5-striped flag stayed in use until 1928. After 1928, the final flag for Republican China was put into use, a field of red with the national emblem in the top left corner. This emblem was also different from the time of the old flag. The latest one represents a white sun on a blue field, which was also the flag of the Kuomintang party, the ruling party during this time. It kept 3 of the 5 colors, except the Tibetan black and the Manchurian yellow, maybe because it was too associated with royalty and imperial China. After this came the Chinese Civil War, communists versus nationalists. The communists won, and the nationalists of the Kuomintang were forced to flee to Taiwan, where they still are today, calling themselves the Republic of China or just Taiwan, and still using their flag. On the mainland, the People's Republic of China was established, putting a new flag into use. So this is China's flag today, along with their emblem. The emblem includes the Tiananmen Gate, where Mao proclaimed the foundation of the People's Republic. Above the gate are 5 stars. The largest represents the Chinese Communist Party, while the 4 smaller stars represent the 4 social classes. The emblem's outer border contains sheaves of wheat and rice representing agricultural workers, and at the bottom center is a cogwheel representing the industrial workers. The red ribbon represents the unification of the Chinese people. These 5 stars are also present on the actual flag, having the exact same meaning. However, the flag didn't always look like this. There were a few changes in the flag of the People's Republic throughout its time. First, the flag of the Chinese Communist Party in 1921, the communist hammer and sickle representing also the farmers and industrial workers. In 1931 until 34, they adopted the flag of the Chinese Soviet Republic, very similar to the first flag of the Soviet Union. In 33 to 34, the flag of the People's Revolutionary Government of the Republic of China was also in use, a red and blue flag with a yellow star in its center. Finally, the current flag was adopted in 1949. It was designed by a man called Zheng Liansong and chosen in a contest amongst 38 other proposals. It's said that Mao's favorite was actually another flag, this simple red flag with a single star and yellow stripe. So this is the flag of the People's Republic of China today. A red field with 5 stars in its top left corner. The Republic of China or Taiwan keeps the traditional Republican China flag. Some exceptions do exist in mainland China, like the flag of Hong Kong or Macau, old British and Portuguese colonies respectively. The Hong Kong flag is a white orchid on a red field. The red represents communism and the traditional color of Chinese culture, while the white is supposed to represent the peace and harmony between China and Hong Kong. The Macau flag is green with a white lotus flower above the symbol of their main bridge, beneath the 5 stars, which are identical to the national flag, representing the unity between that territory and China. The green might also be influenced by Portugal's Republican flag, which is red and green, since the territory was ruled by the Portuguese. So that was a brief history of the Chinese flag and how it changed throughout time, evolving into today's flag of the People's Republic of China and the Republic of China. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave any comments or corrections below and subscribe to catch future videos. I will see you next time.